In this lesson, I'm going to take a look at the initial configuration tasks for the server operating system. When you first start up for the first time, you're going to be prompted with this window. And what it's going to allow us to do is some basic configuration tasks for the operating system. For instance, we can activate Windows if we chose to with the activation key. We've also got some other options here. There we go. We can choose the product key if we want. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I'm going to use the trial version of this for the lessons. I can set the time zone that I would like, and it's going to allow us to pick. Now the default is Pacific time. If I want to, I could definitely choose, I'm from the Eastern time zone, so I'll choose Eastern time and make that change there. Go ahead and hit OK. Also, the fact that we've got configuring the networking. So right off the bat, we can go ahead and start by changing our IP address, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and we'll look at here. We'll be prompted with the local area connection. If you have multiple network adapters on your computer, you'd have multiple ones and you have to identify which one was which. Since I've only got one, it's pretty easy for me to figure out. I'm going to right click on this one and I'm going to go ahead and choose properties. This is going to give us the ability to make some changes to it. Now the version 6 protocol is one that I'm not going to be using for my local network, and so what I'm going to choose to do here is uncheck it, because what it does is it assigns ourselves a Dynamics version 6 address, and I don't want to have any dynamic addresses here on my server, so I'd like to just not use it. I'm going to also modify the version 4 address as well, so I'm going to go to properties for this. Now we're going to go ahead and make this a static IP address, but before you can do this, you kind of have to have an idea of what your topology is going to look like. And so here's my topology at the moment. I've got a server that is plugged into a switch, and now I'm going to choose an IP address, and we're going to use in this lesson just a default class C address arrangement here, but I'm going to pick the address 192.168.1.2, and the reason why I'm picking the second one is because in the future I may want something like a router plugged in, and the default address for most class C routers is 192.168.1.1, and so in the future that'll be my way out if I were to plug in a router. So I'm just kind of planning a little bit ahead on topology. So I'm going to use this address here, 192.168.1.2, as my IP address. And so let's go back and make those modifications. So here we're going to go ahead and type in for the following address 192.168.1.2. And then the subnet mask is going to be the default class C subnet mask, so I'm going to leave that alone. The gateway is going to be the way out of my network, and as you saw, I'm planning at one time to have a router that will be my way out, and so that's going to be 1.1. And then the DNS server, I'm going to go ahead and type in the current address that I'm going to have, because what I'm going to plan on doing is promoting this computer. Since this is the first server on my domain, this will be my first domain controller and DNS server. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the address for the current server, .1.2. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK and close. And then I'll go ahead and close this window. And you're going to see here in a moment that the IP address, there it is going to be changed to that default static address that I just set up for myself. The last thing that I like to do in the initial configuration tasks is set up a computer name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one as well. And it's important to have a name for this computer, because if we do any file sharing, I want to have a name that I can identify very easily. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit change here. And what I want to do is change the name of the computer. And since I named this one SRV1 on the virtual box, I might as well keep the same naming scheme. So I'm going to go ahead and call it SRV-1. And I'm not going to make it a member of any domain yet. I'm going to wait until we actually have a domain controller set up for that. So the only change I need to make is just there. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK on this. And I'm going to go ahead and need to restart my computer in order for these changes to take effect. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. I'll hit close, and then what we're going to need to do now is just choose to restart the computer. Now after my computer's restarted here, we'll take a look. The initial configuration task window will pop back up. Alright, now that it's popped back up, what I can see is that my computer has a new name, SRV-1. It has the IP address that I set, my time zone and so forth have all been set for this. If I want to close this so that it doesn't show again, I can put the little checkbox here for not to show the window at login and hit close, and then it will go away. Now another window is going to pop up here momentarily. It's called Server Manager, and we can close that one here at the moment too. And let me go ahead and close that. That'll pop up from now on every time we log in. But what I do want to point out is if you ever need that to come back up, the command to type in is OOBE. So it's small o BE, and that is the initial configuration task that will bring it back up for you if you need to go back into this window. But I'm going to go ahead and close that. And that concludes the video on the initial configuration. In the next lesson, we're going to take a look at, if you are using VirtualBox, how to make it so that your virtual machine can integrate with your operating system a little bit better.